Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening. This is Joshua from Better Dads Malaysia. Yeah, I hope this message finds you well. Tonight, we are gathered not just as individuals, but as a community, embracing the spirit of family, especially in this month of family, recognizing the significance of International Men's Day. If you are not aware, November 19 is actually the International Men's Day. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to the 5th National Symposium on Fathering. This is a collaborative effort by Better Dads Malaysia in partnership with Pertubuhan IKRAM Malaysia and supported by LPPKN. Well, our theme this year is both timely and impactful. The mental well-being journey from family to workplace. We particularly choose this theme with the understanding that mental well-being is a complex journey, intricately woven into the fabric of our family relationships and professional lives. Well, in a world of constantly evolving, and especially I think a lot of you are aware that with this growing numbers of people going into depression, I think the need to address mental well-being has never been so crucial. You might even doubt that, hey, Better Dads Malaysia, you guys are family NGO. Why are you talking about the topic of workplace or even mental health? Well, for me personally, and as an organization as a whole, it's actually related. Because when we are working with men, dealing with our men's group, we actually realize one of the key stressor of a lot of men is actually from the workplace. And when it is not properly dealt with, the impact will go from workplace to their family. So our journey tonight is not just about understanding the challenges. It's actually more towards finding solution, sharing experiences, and supporting each other. As we explore the intersection of family and workplace in the context of mental well-being, we hope to foster a community where open conversation can really start, where we can learn from each other, support each other, and where the stigma surrounding mental health can be dismantled. So throughout the evening, we have esteemed speakers and experts who will share their insights, experiences, and strategies for navigating this journey. Let's embrace this opportunity to not only gain knowledge, but to forge connections that can make a lasting impact to our lives, to our men, to our family members. And I want to particularly use this opportunity to express gratitude to Tuan Haji Syukur, the Director General of LPPKN, for supporting Better Dads Malaysia ever since the very first year we started. And also appreciating for our long-time partner, Pertubuhan IKRAM Malaysia, especially express our gratitude to Tuan Haji Barisha Baharin, the President of Pertubuhan IKRAM Malaysia. Thank you for always coming alongside with us to be strategically connected and always concerned and care for the family and especially the fathers and men. So, and followed by that, I want to also express my very gratitude to my friend from UK. He's our keynote speaker tonight, the president of Hope Together UK and the founder of the Wellbeing Journey, Mr. Roy Crown. And also, we have a panel discussion with Dr. Nazira Ahmad Basri, a clinical psychologist and ex-co wanita IKRAM Pahang, and our very dear, my very dear brother, Mr. Jason Leong, advisor and co-founder of BDM. And we want to thank Mr. Justin Uy, because this session is moderated by Justin. So I encourage all of you to actively participate. Yeah, I do receive some of these question and people, our friends, our supporters, saying that hey, tonight they have some prior engagement or event. Yeah, don't worry, guys. The video will stay put on our Facebook page, so you can always watch it later. Or if you are really participating for the very first time and you find the information useful, do share to your friends and to your communities, or even share the post to your Facebook post. I think it will help. to encourage people to start conversation on this mental health or mental well-being issue. So I encourage every one of you to actively participate, ask question, post question on the comment section, and engage in the discussion. So we believe together, if we start the conversation, we can actually contribute and help to create a healthier, a more supportive environment for ourselves, our family members, and our colleagues. So thank you for being here tonight, and let's make the 5th National Symposium on Fathering a memorable and transformative experience. Enjoy the session, enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. To Joshua, Jason, and Better Dads Malaysia Exco, and to all participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam rahmah and greetings to all of you. I would like to say, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to deliver the opening remarks to Better Dads Malaysia 5th National Symposium on Fathering 2023 with the theme, The Mental Wellbeing Journey from Family to Workplace. I must say it's a great pleasure to be a partner with Better Dads Malaysia in organizing this event. Promoting family mental well-being in the workplace is crucial for creating a healthy and productive work environment. By prioritizing family mental well-being in the workplace, employers can create a more resilient and engaged workforce, leading to increased productivity, reduce absenteeism, and overall improve employee satisfaction. Employers can offer flexible work hours, remote work options, or part-time schedules to help employees balance their work and family responsibilities. This flexibility can alleviate stress and allow them to spend quality time with their family, boosting their mental well-being. In addition, employers can provide access to resources such as counseling services, workshops, seminars, or webinars that focus on family relationships, parenting, and mental health. These programs can empower employees to better support their families and manage mental health challenges effectively. Employers can also offer EAPs or employee assistance programs that provide confidential counseling services, referrals, and support to employees and their family members. EAPs can assist with various issues like stress management, child rearing difficulties, marital problems, caregiving responsibilities, and more. Employers can also implement policies that support work-life balance, such as generous parental leave policies, flexible scheduling for appointments or childcare needs, and options for childcare assistance. These policies promote family mental well-being by reducing stress and promoting family involvement. Employers can include comprehensive mental health coverage in employee benefits packages. This can include coverage for therapy, counseling, psychiatric services, and medication. By addressing mental health needs within the family, employees can better support their loved ones, leading to a positive impact on their overall mental well-being. Employers can also encourage open communication about family mental health by fostering a supportive and non-judgmental work environment. Employers can provide educational resources and workshops to raise awareness about the significance of family mental well-being and strategies for maintaining it. Employers can promote a culture that supports work-life integration rather than strict separation. Employers can encourage work breaks, vacations, and time off for family events to reduce burnout and allow employees to fully engage and be present with their families, thereby improving their overall mental well-being. Employers can also develop Wellness initiatives that include family activities such as family wellness challenges, mental health awareness events, or family-oriented fitness classes. These programs can encourage employees to involve their families in their wellness journey and promote holistic mental well-being. Employers can train managers to be empathetic, understanding, and supportive of employees' family responsibilities and mental health needs. Managers should be equipped to provide resources, flexibility, and guidance where necessary, understanding the interconnectedness between family and work. In conclusion, I would like to say, let us all join hands together to become better dads, creating a better family that will result in a better society moving towards a better nation. Thank you all once again for this opportunity to give the opening remarks, and I would like to bid good symposium to all of you. Thank you very much.
Pertubuhan IKRAM Malaysia atau lebih dikenali sebagai IKRAM merupakan pertubuhan dakwah, tarbiyah dan kebajikan yang prihatin terhadap urusan kehidupan masyarakat umum sejajar dengan ajaran dan cara hidup Islam. Ditubuhkan pada 22 Oktober 2009, IKRAM berusaha untuk menegakkan syariat Islam di Malaysia dengan rahmat kepada seluruh alam. Dengan moto ukhuwah teras kegemilangan, IKRAM berpegang kepada dasarnya iaitu Islam dan asas pegangannya ialah Al-Quran, As-Sunnah, Ijma' dan Ijtihad. IKRAM mempunyai visi Malaysia menjadi negara rahmah dengan 12 ciri asas berikut. Yang pertama, kepimpinan negara yang kompeten dan berintegriti. Kedua, sistem pemerintahan yang berasaskan semak dan imbang yang berkesan. Ketiga, tadbir urus yang baik. Keempat, undang-undang yang adil. Kelima, masyarakat yang berilmu, berakhlak dan penyayang. Keenam, institusi keluarga yang utuh. Ketujuh, hubungan etnik dan penganut agama yang harmoni. Kelapan, ekonomi yang mampan. Kesembilan, agihan kekayaan yang saksama. Kesepuluh, pembangunan yang lestari. Kesebelas, kebajikan, kesihatan dan keselamatan rakyat yang terpelihara. Kedua-belas, menerajui usaha keamanan dan kesejahteraan sejagat. Misi utama IKRAM yang pertama adalah untuk mengajak dan membimbing masyarakat memahami, menerima dan menghayati Islam sebagai panduan dalam kehidupan peribadi, keluarga, masyarakat dan negara. Kedua, berjuang membangunkan sebuah masyarakat maju berasaskan majhaj tahir, tasawur Islam yang syumur dan tarbiyah yang mantap dengan memanfaatkan teknologi dan amalan terbaik pengurusan. Ketiga, memudayakan pendekatan perkongsian dan permuafakatan. Aktiviti-aktiviti IKRAM berteraskan kepada 3 agenda utama iaitu dakwah, tarbiyah dan kebajikan. Dari sudut dakwah, IKRAM menyampaikan dan menyebarkan risalah Islam kepada segenap lapisan masyarakat menggunakan pelbagai media dan metodologi. Dari sudut tarbiyah pula, IKRAM membina ahlinya dan menghidupkan hakikat beriltizam kepada Islam secara teori dan amali pada peringkat diri, keluarga dan masyarakat. Manakala dari sudut kebajikan, IKRAM melaksanakan pengislahan individu dan keluarga dan berusaha membenteras penyakit sosial. IKRAM kini mempunyai institusi dan agensi untuk menyumbang kepada masyarakat melalui pelbagai bidang. Ia terdiri daripada MyCare, Hidayah Center Foundation, IKRAM Muslim, Yayasan IKRAM, Persatuan Belia Harmoni Malaysia, Persatuan Kesihatan IKRAM Malaysia, IKRAM Teens, IKRAM Junior dan lain-lain lagi. Untuk turut serta sebagai ahli IKRAM, layari www.ikram.org.my untuk mendaftarkan diri anda.
Hi, it's great to be joining the Better Dads of Malaysia session today. I'm thrilled to be part of this, and I'm joining you from England, from rugby, where the game started. And I had the privilege of being in Kuala Lumpur in September of this year, which was amazing. But I'm thrilled that you're looking at this particular issue of well-being. I think if we were to look at anything that happens in our society, coming out of COVID, coming out of the last 3 years, well-being is on everybody's agenda. And whether you're a dad, a granddad, well-being is the issue. And what happened during that period was basically our lives were locked down, and it had a massive impact on us socially, the way we connected. Also, it kind of impacted on us relationally in a phenomenal way. So the well-being journey came out of that particular issue, and every one of us can do better at our well-being. So let me just give you some of the framework. All these things are interconnected. They don't stand alone. But to improve our well-being, all of these things need to be in place. So let me give you a framework as a dad that you could work with to improve your well-being. And let's face it, we all need to improve our well-being. We can all do better at other things than we're presently doing. And I'm going to give you the 6 areas that we all need to look at to improve on our well-being. So as you can see, it's a journey. It's not something that you just arrive at. We all can continually be working on these particular issues. So we're going to walk through the journey together. And I'm thrilled that this is an issue that you're grappling with as a dad. It's something that I grapple with. It's something that we all need to recognize that we could be doing well on one area, but then be weak on another area. So let's look at the areas that we should be reflecting on. And in the light of that, just to give a little framework, there's some words that are used that some people say you seem to be at peace around certain things. Well, there's a word in the Bible, in the Old Testament, that is called shalom. And that word shalom is more than peace. It's wholeness. It's kind of looking at the way as a group of people, we need to be whole and complete. That means that all of our areas, physical, emotional, relational, they all connect to bring shalom into our individual lives and then into our communities and where we are. It's often translated as peace, but the great Hebrew word is shalom. And I believe that God wants us all to live in this shalom space. But it's a journey. And so we're going to go on the journey together, looking at how we can improve our well-being. So welcome to the journey. Great you're with us. The first, and I'm going to put this in dials. So you'll see 3, or you may see 6. I'm not sure that I'm going to put before you. And let's just look at what this comes up as. So I've done it like a gauge. If you drive a car, you will have a gauge within your car. And if you're short on petrol, it will often go into the red. And you know, oh, I'm in trouble. I've got to start improving on that. And I've got to put some fuel in to get the tank back up so that I can continue on the journey. Or you may be midway. So I put these in those kind of gauges so that you can see how you're doing on each of these areas. The first is physical. Hey, listen, we all know that physical is really important to us. We've got step programs doing 6,000 steps a day or 10,000 steps a day. But we understand that the way we're made means that we need to look after this body that God has given us, that we all own, that we inhabit, that we live in. So physical well-being actually releases endorphins and various other things within us, so that if we don't do that, we can often feel lethargic. We can struggle to know where we should be operating or how we should be operating. But look at your physical well-being. How are you doing? What's your exercise program? What's your schedule? Where's your tank on physical? The second is emotional. And these are all interconnected. So emotional well-being, it's not like I just feel good or I feel bad. But if something impacts on our lives, it will touch us emotionally. And as guys, particularly, we struggle to show our emotions many, many times. But we're emotional beings. So what you need to understand is if your tank is empty emotionally, how do you replenish that? Well, it's often in relationships where emotion can be filled. Some people you're with just enable you to get excited again. They actually fill your tank. They say, I believe in you. They connect with you. Emotionally, that gets us going on a certain trajectory, which is fantastic. So where are you at emotionally? Are you drained emotionally? That leads to burnout. That leads to all sorts of complications. So maybe you need to put some things in place on that gauge. If you're in the red, if you're in the middle, that's great. But just think, how do I plan my week? So emotionally, my tank is being refilled and continually being refilled. We are emotional beings. So give attention to your, I'm not very good at that. My wife will tell you, I'm not very emotional. I don't share emotion. I'm not a romantic either. I don't know whether you are. Maybe you do that better where you are. But those things are the way God's made us. So I think we need to recognize that we are emotional beings. Spiritual. We are spiritual beings, believe it or not. And that whole area of our life is people say that there's a void within us, which is the spiritual part of looking for something, looking for meaning, kind of recognizing that there is a spiritual in us, but we live in a spiritual world. It's not just physical, material, it's spiritual. So how do you connect spiritually? How does the spiritual impact on us as being complete people? If that's a whole area of our life where you haven't even thought about it or looked at it, I would encourage you to think, because you're probably on empty, because you're not feeding that or recognizing that. But the spiritual is a key part of us. I came to faith from no background and became a Christian as a result of realizing my tank was empty. And then I discovered that spiritual element to my life has impacted on all the other areas of my life. So we are spiritual beings. People would say also, now in looking at trauma development and even people that go through very difficult counseling situations, they're now recognizing that the spiritual is an important part of recognizing our personal development and growth as well. Then 3 others: relational well-being. So again, you will find this as blokes. If a relationship is broken, it has a massive impact on our well-being until we restore it, until we're reconciled to that person in relationship. If we can't do that, we've got to find a way to resolve coping with it. And we have coping mechanisms that often don't make us complete individuals relationally. The more you can live at peace with other people, the better you are relationally. We're made as relational human beings. We live in relationships. That's why COVID was such a big issue, because we were isolated. We didn't connect, and we were locked in our rooms or our spaces or whatever. And we realized how important relationships are. We love the banter. I love to play rugby. I love that camaraderie and brotherhood and being together. We're relational people. And so if that's on empty, think, how do I connect and grow that? How do I build my relational group? Could be a work environment, could be a family situation, could be a game, or just doing exercise together, or going out, having a meal with blokes and just being together. Feed that tank, because it will make you a complete whole human being. Financial. The reality is that we don't need loads of money, but we need enough money. If finance is a problem, it will affect you in a holistic way. It will consume your thinking. If you don't have enough and you're dreaming of maybe more or whatever, how are you doing financially? Have you put structures in place? Have you got a budget? You know, you don't need loads. You just need enough. But either way, you could then fall off the edge in wanting more, and that driving you so you don't feel complete, and the only thing you think about is all the money. Or you fall off and you don't have enough, and then all of a sudden you've got a real problem. Or you can't meet the bills, or you're just thinking, I'm not sure I'm going to get through this. Let me tell you something that will take away your peace, but it will have a knock-on effect to all the other areas. So it will affect you emotionally. It will affect you physically. It all has a similar impact to what you're looking at. And then the final one is vocational. We were built, particularly blokes, for a sense of purpose, for a sense of, I've got to feel I'm bringing something, I'm doing something, I'm adding value to what I do. Getting meaning in your life is finding the right vocation. And I think there's a design in us. I was talking to somebody recently who was a lawyer, and he said the only thing he always wanted to do from when he was a little boy was be a lawyer. It was kind of in his DNA. And I think finding our vocation, I'd even say that we've got that designed within us, actually enables us to flourish. So you've got to feel a sense of purpose. And whatever stage you're at in life, you may be retired. Hey, there's still things you can do, and you can still connect with a sense of meaning and purpose. If you do nothing or you're unemployed, it will affect your well-being. It will really make that sense of, what do I contribute? What am I bringing? So vocation is really, really important. So all 6 actually enable us to move forward on our well-being journey. So if you were to draw a dial, how are you doing relationally? How are you doing financially? How are you doing vocationally? But let's look at the other 3 we just reflected on as well. How are you doing in relation to, I just need to flick back, physically, emotionally, and spiritually? All 6 interconnect to make us complete people in our shalom process. You see, the way it works is that if you really want to look at it, the well-being journey is taking where I'm at and saying, don't live on empty. If you're empty in one area, talk to someone. Just say, hey, I think that's where I'm struggling. I think that's where I need. Now, you may not say that, because often vulnerability, we find that difficult to do. But actually, when you do make yourself vulnerable, then you'll discover someone else will make themselves vulnerable. It's really important. We all say, oh, everything's fine. Showing vulnerability gets us on the same keel. We can often relate to people better out of weakness than out of strength. So if you're on empty on one area, talk to someone. The second is join a community that will help you to increase on that area of well-being. And that could be a small group. It could be a discussion. It could even be online. And then you'll discover that mind, body, soul, and spirit, all of these issues, you'll find a way to increase on the well-being journey. When I did the well-being journey, I discovered there was a real gap in 2 areas. Those 2 areas was relationally, but also emotionally. When I started investing that, it made me a different person. It made me more complete. This is the journey us blokes are all on. And you'll never arrive. We can all improve. We can all get better at our well-being. But let's address the issues. And I would say to you, you do that, you'll be a better dad, you'll be a better father, and you'll be a better grandfather. Because all of these factors, if we work on them, if we invest in them, it changes us as people. And you know what else happens? We become more at peace with ourselves. And shalom starts to impact on other people, those around us, those we work with, those we live with in our family, those friends that we have. So, hey, it's great that you're looking at the well-being journey. It's great that you're doing this particular session. Well-being is core to who we are. So let's invest in it to be better people, more fulfilled, more complete, and bringing some amazing life experience to everyone else as we share in community and see it grow and develop. It's been great to work with you. It's been great to partner with you across many miles, but I trust that this has been helpful in setting the framework as you start to unpack other issues relating to your well-being. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for being part of this. God bless you. Roy.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us at the 5th National Symposium of Fathering 2023, organized by Better Dads Malaysia, also known as Pertubuhan Bapa Hebat Malaysia. It is co-organized by Pertubuhan IKRAM Malaysia and supported by LPPKN. For those of us just tuning in, our theme is the Mental Wellbeing Journey from Family to Workplace. I'm Justin Hui, and I'll be moderating today's panel discussion. Our 2 expert panel speakers with us today are Dr. Nazira Ahmad Basri, clinical psychologist and assistant professor in Department of Psychiatry, International Islamic University, Malaysia, and EXCO member of Wanita IKRAM Pahang. Mr. Jason Leong, co-founder and advisor of Better Dads Malaysia. Dr. Nazira and Jason, I understand the rationale behind our team is rooted in the understanding that mental well-being is a multifaceted journey, and its impact is deeply intertwined with both family relationships and professional environments. So today, we hope to get your diverse perspectives and actionable insights that can positively influence our audience's mental well-being and that of those around them. So, no pressure, yeah? With that, may I start with the first question for Dr. Nazira? Can you comment on the state of mental health in Malaysia, please?
Thank you very much, Justin. Good evening, everyone. Well, as in all over the world, Malaysia is also deteriorating in terms of mental health. We see a rising case of mood disorders among adults, adolescents, and also children, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. In my clinic alone, where I practice in the psychiatry clinic in my university, we see a lot of rising cases among children and adolescents in terms of being afraid to go out and seeing people. They prefer to just stay in their rooms. So there is a lot of cases where school refusals and also a lot of neurodevelopmental disorders that we see just because they have been locked in their rooms for a very long time. So we see a lot of attention deficit hyperactivity disorders coming up, and also autism spectrum disorder, probably because these have not been complemented in their everyday living, going to school and playing with friends, socializing. So because they're locked up, we see a lot of symptoms, and this is also among adults as well. From the National Morbidity and Health and Morbidity Survey, in 2015 alone, 3 out of 10 adults have a mental illness. But this is in 2015. These have surely risen in numbers after the pandemic, as we see, as I've mentioned. And through the macro level, we see a lot of efforts being done by the government. There are more clinical psychologists being placed in government hospitals. We see a lot of psychiatry units being set up all over the country, specialists such as psychiatrists and mental health counsellors growing in number, and a lot of NGO advocating for mental health, which is very a wonderful thing to see. And professionals and lived experts are also increasing in number, especially during the pandemic, whereby a lot of campaigns, mental health campaigns have been conducted. As in the micro level, I see that parents, especially fathers who are the heads of families, have a significant role to play. Especially so because they are the ones who actually bring their children, bring their wives, their family members to the clinic when they have knowledge of that there is help available. But when they also have a lot of issues, they probably don't see that there is a need for them to bring their family members to the clinic, and so children don't complain to them. Wives don't talk about the problems to their husbands because everybody is busy with their handphones, with emails. Yeah, everybody is busy. And so there's a downturn to the pandemic as well. But I see that there are just so many roles that everyone can play, including ourselves. So I'm just so very happy to be invited in this symposium, so that we can actually talk about the roles of family members, especially fathers, to help with the mental well-being of nations.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Nazira. Thank you for putting that into perspective. And now for Jason, what prompted you and Better Dads Malaysia as an NGO to focus on this area of mental health?
Well, as you know, Better Dads Malaysia was conceptualized and we actually started work sometime in 2018, but we were registered later on in 2019 and we were officially launched on November 19, that is today. This is our anniversary actually, November 19, 2019. So that was 4 years ago.
Congratulations.
Yes, we were officially launched. Thank you, Justin. And it has been an incredibly exciting journey, especially when we work amongst the fathers and the men, and especially during the pandemic and the lockdowns and the MCO, we recognized that there were many, many cases where a lot of fathers had a lot of questions for us. They stayed back after the online meetings and they were asking a lot of questions. And we also observed that the questions that they were asking has a lot to relate to the mental health. And we also observed that some of them are actually having mental health issues and challenges. And this is quite common. So this is not something that affects only the B40 fathers. It affects everybody across the board, especially all the men who are, well, they are the main bread providers, breadwinners in the home and the family, and definitely a lot of stress and anxiety. We have seen men who lost their jobs during the pandemic. We lost the business, and financial issues become a major concern. So many of them gone into depression, and especially too, I mean, during that time, devices, become a major issue because children, if you have a family of 3 children and all the 3 kids are doing their online, studies in the classes and all at the same time. So you need 3 devices for all 3. Standard 2, standard 5, and this guy is in Form 1 at the same time. Right? And then the father is also working from home. He also needs his device. And then the mother, if she's working, she also needs a device. And everybody is, so there is a great struggle as who gets the device. So do the children get it because they need to study, or do the parents do it? So there's a lot of conflict that actually escalated in the family. So the challenges are real, and it can hit anybody. And even for me, I mean, I have my own mental health that I've also sought psychiatric treatment and therapy. So this is something that we need to make it come out in the open so that there is no stigma attached to this, so that we can normalize this and begin to talk about it. I mean, all of us have no issues when we say that, oh, I got a physical ailment, I got headache, I got TB, I got cancer. All of us talk about it. Physical health, there is no problem. But when the person starts talking about mental health, then it's as if it's not a no-go area. And then we have all kind of prejudice, which is unfair, so which I think Malaysians need to begin to be able to understand and have more empathy towards those who are having mental health issues. And the statistics are real. Behind every statistic in the MOH or the NHMS, the numbers are actually underreported. These are official data. How the data is captured? That means the government agencies like MOH, Ministry of Health, and the Institute will only look at those who are registered as patients in the Jabatan Psychiatry or in the hospitals. Students or children have come, people. So unless you are a patient, you are not captured. But the reality is, how many men out there or women out there who have never even gone and seek help? They are not a patient. They are not a registered patient. So their data is not there. So their state of mental health, whatever issues that they have, remains unrecognized, unrecorded, undiagnosed. It's not captured. So 3 in 30% or 3 in 10 is actually the low case. The likelihood and the reality is that it's probably much higher. So this is where, we need to learn to begin to recognize some symptoms and that we can help. So roles of NGO like IKRAM and Better Dads Malaysia, so we do conduct courses and workshops to help people to understand a bit about psychological first aid, so mental health first aid, so things like that is helpful. So this has been our journey, and this is something that we see going forward in Malaysia. This problem is not going to go away. So there will be some emphasis from time to time by Better Dads Malaysia to really tackle and handle this issue so that we can help more men and more the families as well as actually eventually the nation.
Thank you, Jason, for sharing so honestly about this matter on a national as well as a personal level. I know us men are brought up to be tough, kena tabah, but you know what? I think it's even braver to come out and admit you have a problem.
Yes.
And speaking of fathers and family relationships, Dr. Nazira, how do family relationships influence an individual's mental well-being? What kind of triggers or factors that would affect the mental health of an individual?
All right. Thank you. There are many factors, many components that we call bio, psycho, social, and spiritual factors that are intertwined, and they interact with each other and lead and contribute towards a mental health illness. Yeah. Especially so when there are triggers, when there have been adversive events in their childhood. When they become adults, these all shows through. It is manifested through years. It is not just one thing, like you're stressed out with work, then you get a mental illness. It's not. It's an interaction of genetics, of bringing up, of your personality, of school, and then of social expectations around you, the social media, Instagram, Facebook, what people expect of you, what I should be, what I should be looked at, how I should be looked at, and also spiritual, which is very important among us Malaysians. Many of us are very religious in Malaysia, and therefore it is the underlying belief and also that guides us through how we go through our lives. And therefore, when you ask about what are some triggers, I would like to point out that families usually would be under psychological component and also social component. The children's behavior, children's mentality or the cognition are actually shaped by how they are nurtured, not just by nature. Yes, of course, biological heritage, but also how parents have brought them up. It is very different on how a parent who is very strict, very authoritarian, and how a parent who uses a style of authoritative. They actually give guidance, but they are also flexible in some of their rules and regulations. They actually talk and negotiate with how children grow up into resilient individuals, as in modeling how their parents solve problems, modeling how their parents cope with problems, modeling how their fathers actually admit their vulnerabilities, or actually hiding it behind masks and show you have to just follow what I do, but actually you're very vulnerable inside. So the children are actually mimicking and modeling how the parents navigate the world. It shapes their worldview of things. So when parents have issues in their workplace, when parents actually have issues with their physical illness, with mental health illness, or they don't actually talk with each other, they're just too busy. I mean, the parents themselves. And this is especially so when there are siblings in the family, when there are family members, or the parents themselves have issues, as in they're handicapped or have a mental health issue. Then the decision making is not coherent. I mean, they're not seen, because it's very important that parents make it visible to their children how they make decisions, because this is how the children will grow up being like, I need to get help. I can't be doing this alone. I need to actually find people who can help me. I need to find resources. I need to read books, ask experts, go to the hospital and find out, or just just using resources, reading up on their own, like admitting that they have a problem. But individuals who do not actually admit or become aware of their own problems is actually triggers. It becomes a trigger to more problems that they keep on maintaining, but they're not doing anything about it, just living their life, and it becomes a worsening. Yeah. So that I think is something important for families to actually talk about the issues and actually involve their children as well. And this is very important for fathers to know, to admit that there are problems, and yes, I need to solve it, and I need to involve everyone in my family to solve this. Yeah.
thank you for highlighting, Dr. Nazira, that fathers and parents don't have to be perfect, but I think from what I understand, children are looking to us for authentic and healthy relationships. Right. So back to Jason. May I ask the next question? We have heard from Dr. Nazira about some factors in the family that affects a person's mental health. Are the factors similar to those at the office or workplace?
There will be some similarities, and I'm glad Dr. Nazira brought up the fact about parenting and fathering, and there is quite a bit of useful lessons that we can learn from there, and especially what you say. Children don't expect their fathers to be perfect fathers or perfect dads or perfect moms, but they expect them to show up, to be present in their lives.
Absolutely.
So that when they need help, they have someone who they can turn to the support. I remember there's a book that was written by Dr. Ruth Ginsburg, and she said two things that parents really need to help the children, to nurture the children, is to give them roots and wings. Give them roots is to give them the sense of security and stability in the family. That no matter what, you can come to mom and dad. You know, we don't judge you and we don't condemn you. We love you. You see, this is the good thing about what the key message that Better Dads have been trying to send out there has always been that as fathers, as children, they have no choice in choosing their fathers. Children cannot choose their fathers. Children cannot choose their mothers. But as fathers and as mothers, we have a choice to love them unconditionally and to nurture them. So, principles like this, when we translate it into the workplace, well, the workplace can be very harsh and can be very hostile. Obviously, some of the factors are specific to the workplace. And if we look at the workplace in terms of the work itself, the workforce, and the workplace environment itself. So the nature of work is important, because the nature of work, there are many companies that will insist that the staff work for long hours, overtime that goes beyond the normal, right? And not only that, you're expected to respond to an email even though you're back home during the weekend, and they expect that they send something to you on Friday. You know, we want a presentation on Monday, and you are kind of expected to work on Saturday and Sunday so that you're ready on Monday. So that's unfair. So the way that work has been designed, it should not be that way, because then you're putting a lot of pressure on the worker. So that is the work. The nature of work itself. You know, some companies are like overworking the staff, loading the staff with everything else. I mean, the employee may not have that kind of capacity to handle everything. Maybe the boss just wants to save money in terms of hire less staff, but I give you all same work, and I work you guys really overworked. So those who are really overworked have a lot of stress, right? And then, of course, the culture in the office itself is also very important. Some culture in the workplace can be very toxic. It's not very good to work in, especially when they have a boss or a superior who is not very understanding, very demanding, and who will probably be shouting at the staff. And in a way, it amounts to bullying in the office, because he's of a senior position, so he shouts and throw files around and all that. So where is that dignity? Under the SDG goals, in fact, the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 8 is decent work. Decent work means there is dignity in labor, and there is a certain respect that you have to give to your workmen. So that is why the workplace mental health issue is a very important issue, so that people in the workplace, the private sector, can begin to start thinking about what they can do to help their employees. So there are many other issues, like also a the workplace environment itself. There are some offices which have very poor ventilation. They cram everybody into one small miserable room. There's no window, nothing. So how do people work in those kind of conditions? And especially those who are maybe the blue-collar workers, those who are, whether the foreign workers, the Bangladesh or whatever. I mean, they're crammed and they stay in the quarters which are really, really terrible. So that affects the workplace mental health. So those are the areas we see. Those are the factors that are really important, and they have to be managed and tackled in due course.
Thank you, Jason. I guess no workplace is perfect, but there's definitely steps that we can do to improve it for the workers' mental well-being. And ultimately, if it builds better productivity, it's in the company's interest to do so, right?
Yeah.
So going back to the family, Dr. Nazira, what role can families play in fostering a positive mental health environment?
There's a lot of things talking about what roles which families can play, but I would like to focus on just two things. One is accepting differences. Yeah, I think Jason also mentioned about unconditional love. When we have children, each and every one of our children are very different, isn't it? Not just different from each other, but different from the parents ourselves. They're just so different from each other. And that makes parents be able to actually tailor whatever it is that they want to communicate to them in a way that actually acknowledge the child's strength, the child's limitations, their weaknesses. Actually know their child, what the child likes, what the child is talented with. And this is actually something that the child can read. I mean, if parents actually, treat the first son differently than the second, the third, everybody can actually feel it and see it, But of course, this is very hard it's easy to be said, but it's hard to practice, isn't it? But it goes back to how parents can actually accept differences and that each individual is actually unique. That the spouse is unique. Yeah, the husband is unique, the wife is unique, and they have different parenting styles based on what they have been parented with. I mean, their own parents, isn't it?
Right.
So when they actually parent, then comes the conflict, then comes the gap, and they actually need to come back and close the gap, and this needs negotiation. Yeah, this needs negotiation for them to be able to say that, hey, Abang, he's not like you. He can't do perfect things like you do. Please be more flexible with him. He can't accept with you being strict and all this. Let's go and have coffee with him and talk about what we expect and get him to also voice out what his limitations are. I think it's probably more better if you want him to, work like you want. Yeah. So, negotiations need to take place and also assertive. Second is teaching children to be assertive. To be assertive as in where you talked about being in a workplace where things are very stressful, very toxic, But sometimes workers just tolerate that. Sometimes it's hard. But sometimes they also don't voice out because they're afraid. They're afraid that they may be say something wrong and conflict may rise. But actually, probably if they talk it with assertiveness, not with aggressiveness, yeah, it's a different kind of language that they're telling that I think this can be done in a better way, and actually it will make us happier. We can actually, be better workers, and the output is better if we can do this. And actually strategize with other co-workers. We come out as a voice. We come out that we would like this to be done, and we would like to be we can be happier, and we would have complaints if things are done this way. But this needs to be taught when they are young, with parents who can actually give opportunities for the children to speak up, for the children to give them choices, give them alternatives. Where can we eat? Where do you want to go? What do you prefer? What would you like to do? Let's talk about it in the weekend, rather than parents make decisions and you just follow through. Give them alternatives so that they can actually say that I don't agree with you, Dad. Why are you doing this to us? And dads have to listen with their ego, whatever it is. Listen, they may disagree, But listen first, and the children are modeling them. And that dads can actually accept differences in opinions. That dads can actually accept and validate whatever you say and accept that this is a valid opinion, even though I disagree. And dads can actually say that you have a valid point there, but I think this is something that we can work through. What do you think, mother? And I think of this. And then they come with a better decision, a more beautiful decision than probably the first thing that dad thought of. So you see, this accepting differences in personalities, differences in thinking, differences in, just about that everybody have a valid reason why they do what they do. If dads can have this and actually admit that what they think may not be the best solution and actually listen to what other people in the family have to say, then harmony can be, and IKRAM is doing this as well as Better Dads Malaysia. We are advocating for families just to be able to communicate with each other, communicate and also find a way so that things can be solved, rather than just working it through and I can't be bothered, things won't work anyway. But rather finding ways to assert without being too passive, and without being too aggressive, but the middle line, assertive,
So this is okay. Thanks, Dr. Nazira. I guess we are all built differently, and that's where I think from the family, that's the best place to start with a discussion and negotiations. And if children who are taught to do that in a healthy manner would grow up to become healthy, productive workers in the office and workplace, right? So, Jason, back to you. How serious is the problem of workplace mental health in Malaysia?
Oh, obviously, it's something that is very serious, except that not many people want to talk about it. Not many companies want to talk about it.
That's right.
If the data is already showing that 1 in 3, in fact, there was a recent survey by Ipsos. This is the Ipsos Global Mental Health Survey done in October, just last month. And they released, and Malaysia was one of those countries that was surveyed. And in that survey, it showed that 41% of Malaysians actually say that mental health is the main concern, primary concern. Higher than heart attack, which is 23%, higher than cancer, which is 24%. So among the Malaysians surveyed already saying that, and among the Malaysians that was in that survey as well, it also revealed that 40% of the respondents say that they, in a whole year, they'll find that there's a certain period of time that they cannot cope and they get so stressed mentally that they cannot do anything, can't do any work. And when asked to put a figure as to how long does that take, they say sometimes it can be about 2 weeks. So now that is serious. Now, if we take our adult workforce in Malaysia is 16 million. If you take 3 in 10, 30%, we are talking about 5 over million who are affected by mental health. If you take the Ipsos survey, it's actually 40%. So you're looking at 6 over million. And if 6 over million people are affected, and you're saying that some of them are affected for a period of maybe more than 2 weeks, or say put at 2 weeks, you can do some quick calculation. So 40%, put 6 million. 6 million people affected by mental health, if they are out of action or kind of unable to work for 2 weeks. So we are looking at how many? 16 plus times by 2 weeks, we are looking at close to about 84 billion ringgit that is lost. If you just assume a normal work day at 200 ringgit per day.
Okay.
So that's a lot of money being lost.
Oh, that's a big sum.
Yeah, big amount of money that goes down the drain. So And that is because there has not been any intervention, by the companies to try to assist the people in the workplace. And obviously, this is something that companies should begin to start to do, because as you know, a lot of companies also like to say and use it as a slogan that my employees or our employees are most important, our greatest asset. So let that not just be a platitude, just empty talk. So they need to put more effort into that, put the money into that, and say that how they can help the workers, especially. After all, you already have benefits in terms of physical health, the medical leave and all that, you can make claims. So why not we just extend it a little bit more to cover mental health? So that is an area that I think seriously the private sector need to consider.
That sounds very practical.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason, for your perspectives. So thank you again, Dr. Nazira and Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now take a short break and we'll be back shortly.
One of the reasons why we started Better Dads Malaysia is for us to start a national conversation about fatherhood and fathering in Malaysia. And Better Dads Malaysia is designed to lead this national movement for fathers, to coordinate it in such a way so that we can inspire, encourage, and equip fathers with positive fathering skills. And truly, we want to encourage fathers to be more involved, more committed in their children's life, because all the children need their fathers. Children do not really need superhero fathers or fathers who are perfect, but they do need fathers who are present in their lives. So we encourage all fathers to take an active part, an active role in their children's life. And most of all, for fathers, it is not just about raising the sons and daughters, but you are actually raising future fathers and future mothers for the next generation and generations beyond.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the panel discussion for the 5th National Symposium on Fathering 2023, organized by Better Dads Malaysia. Once again, we have Dr. Nazira, clinical psychologist and assistant professor in Department of Psychiatry, International Islamic University of Malaysia, and Mr. Jason Leong, co-founder and advisor of Better Dads Malaysia. Continuing our discussion, Dr. Nazira,
Yes.
can you share personal or professional anecdotes that highlight the interconnectedness of mental well-being in the family context?
Yes, sure. I would like to highlight about several of my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder clients who are adolescents who have just been diagnosed with, we call it the short name is ADHD. Yeah?
I see.
So there are actually 3 types of it. One is hyperactivity, inattentiveness, a very short span of attention, and also both, like a combination of both hyperactivity and inattentiveness. So my adolescent clients who do come, they weren't so hyperactive. So this was not, they weren't hyperactive, but they were inattentive.
I see.
So that was the reason why the late diagnosis came in. Yeah. Contributed toward the late diagnosis. So when they came in with depression or anxiety, either or, yeah. And the parents just, I don't know what to do with this child. It's whether they come with, labels by parents, by school teachers as lazy, as naughty, as rude, and maybe like disobedient, like, yeah, like nothing can be done to you. Yeah. So they come in like, I don't know where they brought me here. I don't have any idea. They don't have any idea. So I talk to them, and while there are psychological assessment being made, I see that they're actually also trying to figure out what are their problems, but they know that they're different from their peers, but they just don't know what it is. So whereas we do psychological assessment to the teachers, to the parents, and to the clients themselves, I saw that it actually goes back to mental health literacy or knowledge among the parents, to see this as something that is something that the child is not capable of doing, struggling with, or something that they're conscious but they just don't want to do it. You know, they don't see the difference between being mischievous and unable to do it. Even though they put all their efforts, but they just can't do it. So it's again to do with, you know, being assertive and trying to, you know, have a voice. Let the child say that actually, but you know, like, I can't do this. You're telling me, but I can't understand what it is that you want me to do. I don't understand what the teacher is telling me, because my mind drifts just so fast. Like, they can just pay attention for less than 10 minutes, and then they'll just go to somewhere else. They daydream, and then just come back when the teacher calls their names. You see? So the academic performance go down, yeah? And then they're being labeled as lazy, whatnot. So there are two ways of coping that they do. One is externalizing. Either they steal, they play truancy, they lie, yeah, because they don't want to, you know, be scolded again. The more of externalizing, like peer pressure, doing lots of things outside school, taking drugs, alcohol, whatnot, or they internalize the symptoms, and they do self-harm. They think a lot. They have depressive symptoms, and do some suicidal attempts, or more of internalizing, and this, of course, is hard to diagnose if the parents don't have mental health literacy and knowledge, and they don't know their children well. They don't see that actually this is different from when you were small. I mean, it seems that you're struggling. You come and tell me what it is. Why are you struggling? They don't know their children well. Or probably, no, ADHD actually comes from when they're small, but it is actually diagnosable when they've gone to school. I mean, it's easier to be seen when they can be compared to their peers. They're not paying attention. They're everywhere. They work with one-to-one. They work with reward, but they don't work with punishment. Yeah, they can, if they like the teacher, they can pay attention. They can be hyper focused on some things that they're interested in doing, but things that they're not, they quickly drift away, especially when it's academic stuff. Right. So you see, when you ask about anecdotes that highlight the interconnectedness of mental well-being in the family context, it's about psychoeducating parents and seeing that this is actually an illness, a neurodevelopmental disorder, that if you're actually able to see that your child lack these skills, you need to be able to help them, support them, and you need to learn these skills. So what I do in clinic is that I educate parents to be able to high-five the child when the child does, a good thing, rather than, why did you do that? You could have done better. Your brother did better. Rather than, you did a good job. You got a C now. You always fail, but you got a C. That's really good job. Reinforcing the good behavior for it to be, more reinforced, and they want to do better because they get the pleasure of their parents, rather than focusing on the negative things that the children have done. Of course, they're very careless. They're very, like they have to be told many times just to be able to help out. Yeah, because they have very short memories, working memory space. So when they're focused on one thing they're interested in, like playing games, when they're being told, like calling their names, being told to do this and that, they just kind of like, what? Oh, it's okay. Just, like I just play the games. Unless you have eye contact with them and you tell them, Abang, come and help me with the dishes. I want you to help me now. And then you can continue with the games. They need to be able to be taught. So when parents have these skills, when they see their children through a different perspective, the stress of the child just dwindled significantly. And not only the stress of the child, but the parents and also the whole family.
That's a relief.
Yeah, there's a relief. You see a huge difference in the way they come after they actually implement the skills that you teach them, in both sides. I mean, school, of course, there's still some problems, but we need to involve we go to schools and discuss with teachers so that the child don't get distracted, so that responsibilities are given to them more, because they work with responsibilities. Yeah, reinforcements are given. Yeah, so this is some sharing that I feel that where parents need to come in and actually realize the difference in their child compared to the other siblings and compared to their cousins or friends, and actually find a way to solve it, through seeking help and finding out that I need to do something to help my child earlier on rather than waiting for it to be late, and it's so hard to help when it's diagnosed at a later age.
Right. Okay, thank you, Dr. Nazira, for highlighting, in terms of ADHD children, that it'd be good for parents to be aware of this, and that the child has a problem, not rather that the child is a problem. And to parents listening in, if you think that your child probably needs help, please seek help sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So going back to Jason, I understand that you have even written a book about workplace mental health. Perhaps you can explain to us what led you to write that book and highlight some of the key messages from the book.
Yeah. It's started as a result of our work in Better Dads Malaysia.
Right.
And also, like I said earlier, we recognize that there is limited funding from the government in terms of mental health and to help and manage mental health. So NGOs like Better Dads and IKRAM, we are doing as much as we can to assist and complement the work and support the government work in this area. But the real money actually is in the private sector. So in order to tap the funding from the private sector, to divert a part of that funding into workplace, into mental health, that is why I deliberately choose to write a book that is entitled Workplace Mental Health.
Yes, let's our audience see it.
Workplace mental health, rather than writing a book on mental health, because that is not going to appeal to the corporate. And I'm not an authority like Dr. Nazira on mental health. So I talk about workplace mental health. And in terms of the ESG strategy and also the SDG, which is the Sustainability Development Goals for 2030, how they can flesh this out within their company, and as well it's also entitled as a guide for the companies. So this is like a practical guide for the companies. And like I said earlier also, this gives the company now an opportunity to seriously put the money where the mouth is and say that, yes, my employees are very important to us, and now we're going to put some budget to help our employees to do mental health or to help them in their mental health issues. So some of the very key messages in this book is very straightforward. I think there is a quick overview of what is happening in Asia, mental health, as well as workplace mental health in Asia, the practices of companies. Singapore is about 10 years ahead of us. So we are actually quite far behind in terms of the companies that are doing initiatives on workplace mental health, helping their employees. But it's better late than never. We can start now. So I hope to promote this book and also the services that I do offer to companies, and especially to the listed companies. The public listed companies are required by law now to make an ESG reporting and sustainability reporting every year in their annual report. So if they want to report something, they really need to do something that is concrete and sustainable. I mean, ESG is a big thing. Many of them are doing a lot on the E and the environment, The G, the governance, is also quite straightforward because it's already codified in the law. The lawyers and accountants can help them to do. But the S, the social aspect, is still very uncertain, and many companies are unable to do the S aspect of the ESG. Gone are the days where you can do a handout and you go to an orphanage and give 10,000 donation, and that's social. As far as ESG is concerned, that's not sustainable. It does not qualify as an ESG initiative. Yeah, that's called philanthropy. That is a one-off handout. That's maybe like CSR. So you need something that's sustainable. That means there has to be a systematic way of looking at things. And in terms of the cost to Malaysia, there was actually a research done by Dr. Chua Sok Ning in 2018. She calculated the cost of the economic cost of mental health for companies in Malaysia, and she came out with a figure of 14.46 billion. Wow. Right? So per year, which is about 1% of our GDP. And she said that it is manifested in 3 distinct areas. When workplace mental health or employees suffer from mental health in the company, the first thing they do is to ponteng lah, absent lah, absenteeism, because they can't get an MC for that. Sure. So they can get an MC if they pretend to be having a headache or whatever, but for seriously on a workplace mental health, there's no MC, and they just stay away. So absenteeism itself is a big component. The second way that Malaysians will do, not only Malaysians, I think worldwide also the same, is that I cannot get leave, I'm not able to work, but I still come to work. I pretend to work. So that's what we call presentism. I'm present, but yet actually I'm absent. I'm not working. I'm just doing some things, moving my mouse, my computer, actually not working. Might as well say don't come to work. Right. So they are actually dreaming or not daydreaming, or they are just not able to focus. And then the third area is turnover, staff turnover. Staff turnover is a big cost because a lot of staff, if they are having a lot of serious workplace mental health issues in this particular company, tak boleh tahan lah. After 1 year, 2 years, I say, I quit lah. I go and join another company. So whatever training that the company has invested in this particular staff is gone because now he leaves. You have to retrain another person. So all these are costs, a real cost that adds up. And it comes out to this big figure of 14.46 billion in 2018. Today is 2023. I think we have gone beyond that figure already. Even on a personal level, I think what is important for a lot of the people who are, I own an advisory firm, my own company, so I have my own staff, and I have always told my staff that annual leave is very important. All of us must take the annual leave, including the boss, including me, because one of the most important function of annual leave is to keep you humble, because a lot of us sometimes we work so hard and we do our work very well, and we begin to think that without me, the company will stop running. Without me, the company may just collapse to top. So I have this inflated sense of ego that I'm so important. The company, the world will stop spinning if I don't come to work. Right. Which is not true. That's why I keep telling them, all my staff, you go, take your leave and go, disappear. When you come back, the company will still be there.
No one is indispensable, right?
Nobody is indispensable. So even the same thing for me. I'm the boss, I will also go.
Yeah. Even the boss.
Even the boss is not indispensable. The company will still run by itself. So it keeps us in our place, and we have a better sense of things, that the proportion of things, it's not so important that it's like life or death. Work, life is more important. Because too many of us spend too much time on making a living. Cari makan, Cantonese will say one sek. Always about cari makan. We cannot go on forever cari makan, cari makan. We cannot go on forever trying to make a living. There has to come a point in time where we start making a life.
Wow.
And that's important. So making a life means much more than just work. It makes making a life meaning your life has to be wholesome. Your family, making time for friends, your hobbies, and the things that move your heart. You know, whether it's NGO work or things that you want to give back to society. So it's more wholesome. So this is very important. So stop making a living and start making a life.
Right. Okay. Words for the wise. Thank you, Jason. So yes, let's make a life together, both at family and the workplace. Yeah. So looking at solutions, Dr. Nazira, what strategies or practices have you found effective in promoting mental health resilience in the face of family-related stresses?
Okay. I think I would like to share with you a type of therapy that I usually use within my clinic. I use there are different types of psychotherapies that we use with different sets of illnesses. Yeah, depression. We do cognitive behavior therapy, borderline personality disorder. We usually use borderline personality disorder for this therapy, but it is called dialectical behavior therapy, or the short name is DBT. Yeah. Why I like it is it's developed by a lady called Marsha Linhan, who is herself a BPD patient as well. What I like about this therapy is that it helps a client to be able to validate where they're coming from. Validate not just where they are coming from, but also where other people are coming from. You know, be able to self-validate and validate others. Yeah. So validation means you're able to see that whatever it is that you have done in the past has a reason, has a valid reason, rather than I should have done better, I could have done better, I must do better. I did mistakes in the past and that was very bad of me. Like self-blaming comes in when you don't validate that was the best that you could have done at that time with your ability, with the stress that you were in. So that self-validation means that you are not intricate like in the problem itself and blaming yourself. Either you are the victim, or you are just blaming other people. No, like you are blaming other people, or people. Either you are the victim, like people are doing bad things onto you, or you're superior than others. You know, like other people are wrong, always on the wrong side. I'm right. So you're not actually, if you're still there within the problem, then you're not validating yourself and validating others. For you to undergo therapy, you need to have self-awareness so that you're able to see your problem from a neutral perspective, like a helicopter perspective, where you go and see that, yes, I did that, but there's a reason why I did that. I could not have done better. There's a reason, but I learned something from it, and I will use this later on, because and then at the same time, seeing that the reasons that people do the things that they do because they're from totally different backgrounds. They're brought up differently. The way they think are different. You know, if they're able to see that, then it's easier for me to focus on other skills that they lack. You know, if they're able to see that there's a reason why I did that, and then I will be able to uncover other skills that they lack. For example, in dialectical behavior therapy, in DBT, there's actually a self-acceptance part, and that's actually a change part. It's like a seesaw where you actually balance these two things. You know where you come from, you know your strength, you know your limitations, your weaknesses, and you also need to change some of the things that you have been doing, or some of the things that you lack. You need to change it. You need to learn to do better. So this is where I talked about assertiveness. This falls in change. Yeah, emotional regulation falls in change. You need to be able to regulate your emotions so that you're able to do work and not let the emotions be dominant over you,
Right.
but be able to see that there are ways to go about this problem. Yeah, so self-awareness, I think for one to be resilient, you need to be able to be grounded so that you're aware where you come from, where other people come from, and start working from there. So I like this therapy because of this self-awareness thing. There are other therapies which actually work on a change, like cognitive behavior therapy. You change the way people think, change the perspective, change the perceptions, but they don't really emphasize on the self-awareness. Some other therapies also focus on self-awareness. But because I love this therapy because it works on both. Yeah, it works on both. So for one to be resilient, I would usually see if they already have that self-awareness, if they have insights about their problems, and then when they have that, then I'll be able to see what other skills that they're lacking, and then help from there. So they're better grounded, so they're better able to see that I can only focus on the things that I can control, rather than focus on the things that are beyond their control. And I need help in this area. If I change, other people will change too, because communication is reciprocal. So if fathers out there, if you change, I believe that your spouse, your children, people around you will change too. But you need to be able to be grounded. You need to be able to be aware that you have vulnerabilities and it's okay to admit them. So this is self-validation. Aware of yourself and admit that I need help. I'm not good in this. I need some help from other people. Yeah. So I think to be resilient, one needs to be to have self-validation. That's one very important thing that I do emphasize in my therapy sessions.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Nazira. If there's anything that I took away from what you've shared, is not to beat ourselves up over our mistakes of the past, oh, poor me, or to blame other people, that bad person, but to be self-aware, and because we did the best we could in that situation, and move on, and what can we do now to improve the situation, if I got that right?
Yep.
Thank you. Back, and from the family, we move back to the workplace. Jason, what would be some recommended strategies or practices for companies out there to begin to tackle and manage this problem of workplace mental health?
Well, like what Dr. Nazira said, awareness is very important. Currently, one of the most common thing that I do now is I give a lot of awareness talks to corporations and companies, beginning to kind of bring them to this awareness that there is this important facet of workplace mental health, and so that they can be motivated to begin to do something. I don't expect them to just jump on the bandwagon and start do big things. Start small, but eventually it will progress. And especially when they have to file and do the ESG anyway, you need to spend money anyway to do the ESG. So might as well do something. Charity begins at home, right? Do something within your company for your employees. So one of those very basic things that we start for those companies which I'm advising currently, we will say that, okay, you want to do it? Okay, we'll come in and we do an assessment for you. That means we will assess and tell you and benchmark you and tell you where you are actually in terms of the company, in terms of workplace mental health in your company. So we will talk to the management. They will have their own story. And we will talk to the workman on the floor, the blue-collar worker, the guy on the factory floor. They will have the story. Sometimes management will tell stories that is always biased towards management, or everything is very good, no problem, But then you go down on the level, you see a lot of different stories. So, like always, the truth is somewhere in between.
Right.
So we will show them the whole assessment and say, look, this is what is there. And once you know where you are, you benchmark it. Then we say, okay, let's see what kind of strategy you want to do, and we will work out an entire action plan for them. So to take them from where they are now, existing now, to desired outcome in a year from now, maybe 12 months or maybe more than that. So it's a long journey that they need to go through. And it's a very systematic thing. That's why I have to write a book so that everything is in there, so they can refer to the guidance, they can refer to the materials, and begin that journey. And it's also very important that the issue of stigma needs to be tackled, because in Malaysia, I think a lot of people also, even if there is workplace mental health assistance in the company, many lower level employees may feel a bit reluctant to take advantage of it and come out and say, I need mental health issues assistance, because they are very worried, what if I say that and the boss look at me and say, hey, this guy is non-performing, I think he cannot do work, maybe he might be on the next retrenchment list, or he can be on the list that he can never be promoted, mungkin tak dapat bonus. So the fear is there, so everybody may not want to come. So that's why the tone has to come from the top. The chairman of the company, the CEO, the board of directors. That's why there's a sustainability committee within the board, which have to say things like this and begin to tell the story and become very open and vulnerable. In Singapore, that's why I say they are at least 10 years ahead. Currently, 3 years ago they started, there are 44 CEOs of public listed companies in Singapore, CEOs coming together, forming a coalition on workplace mental health and beginning to tell their own journey, their story. So even the head of Temasek, telling his own mental health issues and how he has to manage it, because all of them have to begin to tell that story that even ordinary people can understand and say, wow, this guy is up there, head of Temasek, he's running a fund of multiple billions, and yet he has got this issue. And to normalize it. And 3 years later, today, that number has gone up to 77 public listed companies, CEOs, meeting every month to talk about stories like this. And they are holding town hall meetings within their own companies and also sharing their own story, so that people are beginning to say, oh yeah, this is something that is common, and the boss will not take it against me if I go and seek mental health. And so there are all these avenues that companies can begin to provide for the employees. One of them is like no question asked mental health leave. Maybe start with 2 days, because sometimes, how do you go and get an appointment to see a psychiatrist? It's like 3 months time. I'm going to get, I'm not well. Tomorrow I cannot come to work. It's just like that. So I go to the boss and tell him, boss, I'm really not up to it. So I really need 1 day off tomorrow. And you just trust the staff. Of course, it can be abused. But what we are saying is that 2 hari, 2 days, that's for a start. And that shows your compassion for your staff and say that we trust them. I mean, abuse pun, but at least there is this trust and compassion shown by the top management that yes, if you ask for it, no question asked, take the leave, go. Life is more important than work. So things like this, and then they can also subscribe to EAP, Employee Assistance Program, where they can have a panel of clinical psychologists or counselors that employees can seek help from, some self-help work or materials that they can provide, maybe even talks, training that can be provided to the companies, and maybe some mid-level managers who are trained in psychosocial or psychological first aid. Not so much that they can do the direct intervention, but at least they can recognize the symptoms of staff which are suffering tremendous stress or burnout before they actually got burnt out, and then they can recognize that, hey, this guy is a bit, already on the edge, so they can tell him, hey, maybe you should go and seek some help, some therapy, so before it just blows up. So all this is helpful actually for the company. So if they begin to do this in a very international, systematic kind of way, I think it is a win-win for everybody. So ultimately, I think, let me just close with this. It's a very famous poet who actually she wrote, Maya Angelou, where she said, people will not remember the things that you give to them, or sometimes the things that you buy for them. But people will always remember the way in which you make them feel, how they feel, the way in which you handle their feelings. And that is very human, So when they humanize this, so it takes a lot of courage from the bosses at the top, but it also takes a lot of compassion. And that's what life should be. This is what it means to do S in the ESG for corporates. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I think the word is compassion, and I know it may be easier said than done, but I think it would be great if companies can balance between people and profits, and we talk about mental health openly, the way that we talk about heart problems or cancer, and not to blame the person for having mental health problems.
Actually, somebody just told me, he said, companies like to talk about sustainability, green and everything else. Actually, he said, without mental health, there's no sustainability to talk about. What sustainability you want to talk about if you don't even have mental health? The whole company, no need to do sustainability anymore, because it starts with the people. That's why it starts with people, planet, profit.
Absolutely, right? In that particular order.
Yeah, in that order. People first.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Jason. And a big thank you again for your insightful comments, Dr. Nazira and Jason. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in to the 5th National Symposium of Fathering 2023, organized by Better Dads Malaysia, co-organized by Pertubuhan IKRAM Malaysia, and supported by LPPKN. We hope you've benefited from this session and that it supports your mental well-being journey from family to workplace. This is Justin signing off. Good night.